Psalm 23 begins with a declaration that can completely change the way we face life. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. These words are not merely poetic language. They are a statement of trust. David is saying that his life is ultimately cared for by God. He does not place his confidence in money, people, circumstances, or his own strength. He looks to the Lord as his shepherd, the one who guides him, protects him, provides for him, and leads him through every season. When you understand God as your shepherd, fear begins to lose its control over your heart. A sheep without a shepherd is vulnerable. It can wander into dangerous places, become lost, or struggle to find food and water. But when the shepherd is present, the sheep does not have to understand every part of the journey. It only needs to follow the shepherd's voice. In the same way, there will be seasons when you do not know what tomorrow will bring. You may not understand why certain doors closed or why certain difficulties appeared, but you can still trust the one who sees the entire path. Sometimes the greatest battle is not actually lack itself, but the fear of lack. Fear tells you that there will never be enough. It tells you that your situation will always remain the same. It makes you look at what is missing instead of remembering what God has already provided. But Psalm 23 redirects your attention. Instead of beginning with what you do not have, begin with who God is. The Lord is your shepherd. This does not mean that faith guarantees material wealth or that every financial problem disappears instantly. Rather, it means that your ultimate security is found in God's care. He knows your needs. He understands your circumstances. He can provide wisdom, opportunities, strength, relationships, and resources according to His will. Sometimes His provision comes through unexpected doors. Sometimes it comes through people. Sometimes it comes through a new opportunity. And sometimes the provision you need most is peace and strength to continue through a difficult season. There may be moments when you feel surrounded by problems. Bills may seem overwhelming. Opportunities may appear limited. You may look at your circumstances and wonder how you will move forward. In those moments, remember David's declaration. He did not say, "I have everything I want." He said, "The Lord is my shepherd." His confidence was in the shepherd, not in the size of his resources. God's shepherding also means that He leads. A shepherd does not merely stand nearby. He guides the sheep toward what is good and away from danger. There may be opportunities that look attractive, but would ultimately harm you. There may be paths you desperately want to take that God knows are not right for you. Sometimes God's protection looks like a closed door. Sometimes His provision looks like waiting. Sometimes His blessing is found in the direction you did not expect. So do not measure God's goodness only by what happens quickly. Trust His leadership even when the road is unfamiliar. He sees what you cannot see. He knows what you do not know. His wisdom is greater than your understanding. And when you truly recognize the Lord as your shepherd, you can face every season with confidence, knowing that you are not walking alone and that your faithful God will provide what you truly need. There are seasons in life when your mind feels exhausted, your heart feels overwhelmed, and your spirit feels as though it has been carrying a burden for far too long. You may have been trying to solve everything by yourself, trying to control every outcome, and trying to understand why certain things are happening. But Psalm 23 gives us a different invitation. The shepherd does not only provide for his sheep, he leads them beside still waters and into green pastures. He leads them into places of rest, renewal, and peace. Think about what that means. Sheep do not naturally know where the safest pasture is. They depend upon the shepherd to guide them. In the same way, there are moments when you may not know where your next step should be. You may be standing between decisions, waiting for an opportunity, or recovering from something that deeply disappointed you. You may feel pressured to make something happen immediately, yet God may be saying, "Be still, trust me, let me lead you." The world often teaches us that peace comes when everything is under our control. But true peace comes when we realize that everything is under God's control. You do not need to know every detail of tomorrow to have peace today. You do not need every problem solved before you can breathe again. You can rest because the shepherd is already ahead of you. Green pastures represent nourishment and renewal. When your soul is tired, God knows how to restore what life has drained from you. People may misunderstand your struggle, but God understands it completely. He knows the weight you have been carrying. He knows the nights when you could not sleep because your mind was filled with questions. He knows the prayers you whispered when you did not have the strength to say much. His care reaches places that human words cannot reach. Still waters speak of calmness. Sheep will not comfortably drink from dangerous, rushing water. The shepherd leads them toward a place where they can drink safely. Likewise, God knows when your life has become too noisy. There may be constant pressure, endless notifications, financial concerns, relationship problems, or thoughts racing through your mind. Yet God's presence can create stillness in the middle of the noise. You may not be able to control everything happening around you, but you can choose where you place your attention. Instead of constantly replaying your problems, bring them before God. Instead of imagining every possible disaster, remind yourself of His faithfulness. Instead of asking only, "How will I survive this?" begin asking, "Lord, where are you leading me through this?" Sometimes restoration requires leaving certain environments, habits, or relationships behind. The shepherd knows when it is time to move. Do not cling to what God is trying to release from your life simply because it feels familiar. His leading may take you into a season you did not expect, but His purpose is not to destroy you. He wants to restore your strength and prepare you for what lies ahead. And remember, rest is not weakness. Rest is an act of trust. When you rest in God's presence, you are declaring that your future does not depend entirely on your ability to control everything. You are saying, "God, I trust you enough to stop striving for a moment. I trust you enough to let you lead." Perhaps today you feel tired from fighting battles that seem endless. Perhaps you have been carrying financial pressure, disappointment, or fear about the future. Psalm 23 invites you to pause. Let God quiet your heart. Let His presence become your place of refuge. Let Him restore the peace that circumstances have tried to steal. The shepherd knows exactly where you are, and He knows exactly where He is taking you. So breathe deeply, release your burdens, and follow His voice, because the God who leads you beside still waters is also the God who will faithfully carry you through every storm. God does not promise that you will never walk through difficult places, but Psalm 23 gives us a powerful assurance. He will never abandon you in the valley. There are seasons when life feels dark, uncertain, and overwhelming. You may be facing financial pressure, disappointment, rejection, family struggles, or a future you cannot clearly see. In those moments, fear can become louder than faith. But David says, "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Notice that David says through. The valley is not your permanent destination. It is a place you walk through. This is an important truth for anyone who feels trapped in a difficult season. Your current situation does not have to define your future. The valley may be painful, but it is not the end of your story. God can use difficult seasons to strengthen your faith, deepen your dependence on Him, and prepare you for something greater. You may not understand the purpose of the valley today, but you can trust the shepherd who is walking with you through it. Fear often grows when we believe we are alone. When you face uncertainty by yourself, every problem can appear larger than it really is. But David's confidence changed when he remembered one simple truth: "You are with me." God's presence is more powerful than the presence of the problem. The valley may be dark, but God is there. The enemy may create fear, but God is there. Your resources may seem limited, but God is there. This does not mean that every difficulty will disappear immediately. Faith is not pretending that problems do not exist. Faith is recognizing that God is greater than the problems you face. You can acknowledge the difficulty while still believing that the Lord is faithful. You can cry while still trusting Him. You can feel tired while still holding on to His promises. Courage is not the absence of emotion. Courage is choosing to continue with God despite what you feel. The rod and staff mentioned in Psalm 23 represent the shepherd's guidance and protection. A shepherd used these tools to guide sheep away from danger and protect them from threats. In the same way, God's Word gives us direction when we do not know which way to turn. His wisdom protects us from decisions that could lead us into deeper trouble. Sometimes He corrects us because He loves us. Sometimes He closes a door because He sees danger that we cannot see. Sometimes He redirects our path because He knows where we need to go. So when God changes your plans, do not immediately assume that He has forgotten you. The closed door may be protection. The delay may be preparation. The unexpected detour may be part of His guidance. The shepherd sees the entire journey while we often see only the next few steps. If you are facing hidden opposition, remember that you do not have to live in constant fear. You do not need to spend every day worrying about what someone might do against you. God knows what you cannot see. He knows every situation, every motive, and every circumstance surrounding your life. Your responsibility is to remain faithful, walk wisely, pray continually, and trust Him with the battles you cannot control. Perhaps you are walking through a valley right now and wondering when it will end. Keep moving. Do not build your identity around the valley. Do not allow temporary hardship to convince you that God has abandoned you. The shepherd is still leading you. His presence is still with you. His promises are still true. One day you will look back and realize that the season you thought would destroy you became a season that strengthened you. You will see how God carried you when you thought you were walking alone. You will recognize that His grace sustained you when your own strength was gone. So lift your head today. The valley is not the final destination. Keep walking with your shepherd, because even in the darkest valley, His presence is enough to give you courage, peace, and hope. There is a powerful moment in Psalm 23 when David declares that God prepares a table before him in the presence of his enemies. This picture carries a message of tremendous hope. Your provision does not depend on the approval of people who oppose you, and your future is not controlled by those who want to see you fail. When God is your shepherd, He remains capable of caring for you even when circumstances around you are difficult. You may have experienced seasons when someone underestimated you, rejected you, spoke against you, or tried to close a door in your life. Perhaps you have felt that another person's decision was powerful enough to determine your future. But Psalm 23 reminds you that people do not have the final authority over your life. God does. If He chooses to open a door, no human being can permanently shut it. If He provides an opportunity, opposition cannot cancel His purpose. Notice that David does not say God removes every enemy before preparing the table. The table is prepared in the presence of them. That means God's blessing and provision can appear even while opposition still exists. Sometimes we think we must wait until every problem disappears before we can experience peace. But God can give you peace while the battle is still happening. He can provide while you are still waiting. He can strengthen you while others are still criticizing you. This is important because many people allow their enemies to occupy too much space in their minds. They constantly think about what others are saying, what others are planning, or how others are judging them. But when you spend all your energy watching your opposition, you may fail to notice what God is doing in your life. The table represents a shift in focus. Stop staring at the enemy and start looking at the shepherd. Your provision may not always look like what you expected. Sometimes God provides financially. Sometimes He provides wisdom when you need a decision. Sometimes He provides strength when you feel weak. Sometimes He sends the right person into your life at exactly the right time. Sometimes He gives you peace that cannot be explained by circumstances. God's provision is not limited to money or material possessions. He knows what your soul needs. This does not mean that faith gives us permission to demand wealth or expect every desire to be fulfilled. Biblical provision is rooted in God's wisdom and care. The shepherd knows what is truly good for his sheep. There may be things you desperately want that would not be beneficial for you. God may answer by saying, "Wait, not yet," or something different. His provision is guided by love, not by pressure. When you remain faithful during difficult seasons, you develop a deeper understanding of God's ability to sustain you. You learn that your confidence cannot be based entirely on a paycheck, a position, a relationship, or another person's approval. Those things can change, but God's character does not change. Perhaps you are worried about your future right now. Maybe you are facing financial uncertainty or wondering where your next opportunity will come from. Take your concerns to God, but also continue taking wise and responsible steps. Pray for wisdom, work diligently, seek opportunities, manage what you have faithfully. Do not allow fear to paralyze you. Trust God while doing what is within your responsibility. And if someone is opposing you, resist the temptation to spend your life trying to prove yourself. Let your character speak. Let your faith remain steady. You do not need to retaliate against every accusation. You do not need to answer every critic. God knows the truth, and He knows how to defend His children. The table God prepares is a reminder that opposition cannot cancel His care. You may be surrounded by challenges, but you are also surrounded by the presence of your shepherd. Your circumstances may not look abundant today, but God's faithfulness has not changed. So keep walking, keep praying, keep trusting, and keep doing what is right. Let God handle what you cannot control, while you remain faithful to what He has placed before you. The same God who leads you through the valley can prepare a table in the middle of the battle, proving that your provision ultimately comes from Him. Psalm 23 reminds us that God's goodness and mercy are not temporary visitors in our lives. They are faithful companions that follow us through every season. David declares with confidence that goodness and mercy shall follow him all the days of his life. What a powerful picture this is! It means that when you wake up in the morning, you do not have to begin your day expecting only problems. You can begin with the expectation that God is still good, His mercy is still available, and His presence is still with you. There will be days when circumstances seem to contradict that truth. You may experience financial pressure, disappointment, rejection, unanswered prayers, or unexpected challenges. You may look around and wonder where the blessing is, but God's goodness is not measured only by what you can see at this moment. Sometimes His goodness is working behind the scenes before you ever recognize it. A door that closed may have protected you. A delay may have prepared you. A difficult season may have developed strength within you that comfort never could. This is why faith requires us to look beyond temporary circumstances. If you only believe God is good when everything goes your way, your faith will constantly rise and fall with your situation. But when you understand that God is good because of who He is, you can remain steady even when life becomes uncertain. His character does not change when your circumstances change. His love does not disappear when you experience disappointment. His mercy does not run out because you have made mistakes, and that mercy is especially important. None of us walks perfectly. We make wrong decisions. We sometimes lose our focus. We become discouraged. We allow fear to control our thoughts. Yet God's mercy gives us another opportunity to rise, repent, learn, and continue walking with Him. His mercy reminds you that your past does not have to control your future. Maybe you have made financial mistakes and now feel trapped by them. Maybe you have experienced failure and believe you have ruined your opportunities. Maybe someone has hurt you so deeply that you have lost confidence in yourself. Psalm 23 reminds you that God's mercy is still following you. Your story is not finished simply because you have experienced failure. God can teach you wisdom through what you have lost. He can rebuild what has been broken. He can give you strength to begin again. Restoration may not always mean receiving back exactly what you lost. Sometimes God restores by giving you something deeper: wisdom, maturity, peace, purpose, and a stronger relationship with Him. This is where true abundance begins. Abundance is not simply having more possessions. It is knowing that your life is secure in God's hands. You can have little and still possess peace. You can have challenges and still have hope. You can be in a season of waiting and still have confidence that God is working. The final words of Psalm 23 point David toward dwelling in the house of the Lord forever. His greatest desire was not simply God's blessings, it was God's presence. That is the foundation of everything. If you seek blessings without seeking the blesser, you will always feel that something is missing. But when God's presence becomes your greatest treasure, every other blessing is placed into its proper perspective. So do not allow fear of lack to control your life. Do not allow past failures to convince you that God cannot use you. Do not allow opposition to make you believe that your future is finished. Keep walking with the Shepherd. Keep praying, keep obeying, keep trusting. Goodness is still following you. Mercy is still following you. God's presence is still with you. And as you continue to trust the Shepherd, you can move forward with confidence, knowing that His faithfulness will carry you into every season ahead. When you reach the final words of Psalm 23, you discover that the entire message has been leading you toward a deeper kind of confidence. David began by declaring, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." and he ends with the assurance that goodness and mercy will follow him all the days of his life. Between those two declarations, David has walked through green pastures, still waters, dark valleys, battles, opposition, provision, and restoration. The message is clear. The presence of God is greater than every circumstance you will ever face. There will be moments when you feel as though you are surrounded by problems. You may be concerned about your finances, your family, your future, or decisions you need to make. You may wonder whether you will ever experience the breakthrough you have been praying for. But Psalm 23 teaches you not to measure God's faithfulness by one difficult chapter. A difficult chapter is not the whole story. Your shepherd is still leading you. When you look back, you may realize that God has already carried you through situations you once thought would destroy you. There were moments when you did not know how things would work out, yet somehow you made it through. There were doors that closed that later proved to be protection. There were delays that eventually became preparation. There were seasons of weakness in which God gave you strength you did not know you had. That is why you can trust him with what comes next. God's provision is not limited to one particular form. He can provide through opportunities, wisdom, discipline, relationships, creativity, perseverance, and unexpected favor. If you are praying for financial improvement, continue trusting God while also taking responsible steps. Learn, work, plan, save, seek wise counsel, and remain faithful. Prayer and responsibility can walk together. Faith does not mean waiting passively. Faith means moving forward while trusting God with the outcome. And when you are facing opposition, remember that you do not have to live your life trying to defeat everyone who speaks against you. Your focus should remain on the shepherd. God knows every situation. He knows what is happening in secret and what is happening in public. He knows your intentions and the intentions of others. You can refuse revenge and choose wisdom. You can protect your peace without becoming consumed by anger. There is also a deeper victory in learning to be content with God's presence. Sometimes we ask God to change everything around us when he first wants to change something within us. We ask for more money, but he teaches us wisdom. We ask for immediate success, but he develops patience. We ask for a new opportunity, but he prepares our character for responsibility. We ask him to remove every difficulty, but he teaches us how to remain faithful in the middle of difficulty. This is not punishment, it is preparation. The shepherd knows what you need for the journey ahead. He knows how much you can carry. He knows when you need rest and when it is time to move forward. His timing may not always match yours, but his wisdom is greater than your urgency. So do not let today's lack convince you that tomorrow will also be empty. Do not let today's battle convince you that you have been forgotten. Do not let one failure convince you that your purpose is finished. Keep trusting the shepherd. The promise of Psalm 23 is not that you will never face trouble. The promise is that you will never face it alone. God walks with you through the valley, provides in the presence of opposition, restores your soul, and leads you toward his goodness. Therefore, rise with faith, walk with courage, pray with confidence, work with diligence, love with grace, and trust the shepherd with your future. You are not abandoned, your story is not finished, and God's goodness and mercy are still following you every step of the way.